What if I told you that some of the most terrifying things humans have ever done weren't carried out by criminals, but by scientists? Not mad scientists from movies, real researchers, real laboratories, real funding, all in the name of progress. People were lied to, drugged, tortured, and psychologically destroyed, often without ever knowing they were part of an experiment. And the scariest part? At the time, many of these experiments were considered completely normal. Today, we're diving into the darkest chapter of science. Experiments so disturbing they permanently changed ethics forever. And by the end of this video, you'll realize something far more unsettling. Under the right conditions, any of us could become monsters. Imagine volunteering for a simple psychology study and walking out emotionally broken just 6 days later. In 1971, researchers created a fake prison inside a university basement. Healthy, ordinary students were randomly assigned roles as guards or prisoners. No one was told to be cruel. No violence was instructed, but within hours, guards began humiliating prisoners. They forced them to do push-ups, removed their mattresses, denied them access to bathrooms. Prisoners were woken up at night and verbally abused. By the second day, prisoners began breaking down, crying, shaking, screaming. One participant had to be released after suffering a complete emotional collapse. One guard later said he didn't recognize himself. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks. It was shut down after just 6 days. It revealed something terrifying. Power alone, without rules or accountability, can turn ordinary people into abusers. Now consider this question. It sounds simple, but it's deeply unsettling. Would you harm another person if an authority figure told you to? In another experiment, participants were told they were helping study learning and memory. They believed they were delivering electric shocks to another person for wrong answers. The shocks increased in voltage. The screams became louder. The person begged for the experiment to stop. But a calm voice in a lab coat said, "Please continue." And most people did. 65% of participants delivered what they believed were fatal shocks. They weren't violent criminals. They weren't psychopaths. They were ordinary people. This experiment revealed a horrifying truth. Obedience can override morality. Now let's talk about something that sounds like science fiction, but is completely real. During the Cold War, a secret government program attempted to control the human mind. Civilians were drugged with LSD without consent. Prisoners were psychologically tortured. Soldiers were subjected to hypnosis and sensory deprivation. Some people were dosed in bars without ever knowing what happened to them. Many suffered permanent mental damage. At least one man died after being secretly drugged. Most records were destroyed to hide the evidence. This proved something deeply disturbing. In the name of national security, governments are willing to sacrifice individuals. Next is an experiment that lasted 40 years. Doctors studied hundreds of black men who had syphilis. The men were never told the truth about their condition. They were told they were receiving treatment, but they weren't. Even after penicillin was discovered as a cure, treatment was deliberately withheld. Men went blind, lost their sanity, died slow, painful deaths. Their wives were infected. Their children were born with the disease. Researchers watched, documented, and did nothing. This wasn't ignorance. It was intentional. The damage from this experiment destroyed trust in medical institutions for generations. Now imagine this happening to a baby. A healthy infant was shown a white rat. There was no fear. Then researchers struck a loud metal bar behind the child's head. The baby cried in terror. They repeated this over and over. Soon the child wasn't just afraid of the rat. He became afraid of rabbits, dogs, fur coats, and even Santa Claus masks. The experiment ended. The fear was never reversed. This showed how easily fear can be programmed into the human brain, especially in children. Between the 1940s and 1960s, thousands of people were exposed to radiation without their knowledge. Patients were injected with radioactive substances. Soldiers were placed near nuclear test sites. Pregnant women were unknowingly exposed. Many later developed cancer, organ failure, and severe birth defects. Most never knew why they became sick. The reason was simple. Scientists wanted data. Now consider sleep. It feels harmless until it's taken away. In extreme sleep deprivation studies, participants were kept awake for days. At first, they felt confused, then paranoid, then terrified. Some began hallucinating shadow figures. Others believed they were dead or trapped in a dream. The human brain begins to collapse without sleep. This proved that rest isn't optional. It's a biological requirement. In another experiment, orphaned children were used to study speech disorders. Some children were praised and encouraged. Others were verbally abused. They were told their voices were ugly. that they embarrassed people, that they should stop talking. Children who spoke normally began stuttering, developed anxiety, lost confidence. Some effects lasted a lifetime. The experiment later became known as the monster study, and the name fit perfectly. Now we reach the darkest experiment on this list. During World War II, a secret unit conducted experiments on living humans. Prisoners were infected with deadly diseases. Limbs were frozen to study frostbite. Organs were removed without anesthesia. Men, women, and children. These were not accidents. They were procedures. Many of the scientists responsible were never punished. Some went on to live successful lives. This is what science looks like without humanity. After all these experiments, one conclusion became impossible to ignore. Under authority, pressure, fear, and obedience, ordinary people can commit extraordinary cruelty. Not monsters, not villains, regular people. This is why ethics exist today. Why informed consent matters. Why experiments are monitored and restricted. Because knowledge without morality is dangerous. Science has cured diseases, put humans on the moon, connected the world, but its darkest experiments remind us of one truth. Progress without ethics creates monsters. The question isn't whether this could happen again. The real question is, would we recognize it if it did? If this disturbed you, it was meant to. And if it made you uncomfortable, that's the point. Because the scariest experiments aren't always in the past. Thank you for spending your time with us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and means a lot.